Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, The Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is week 3, Big 10 Preview with our co-host, the one and only Southside Riley. And that's right, I coined that name, and since I've coined that name, the White Sox are kicking some you-know-what, but that's not for this show. But I do thank them because we cashed them on the run line yesterday. Our only play, 3-1 this week in the VIPs. Yeah, it's quality, not quantity. Left the Chargers on the desk. I talked till I was blue in the face. Vegas said 28-24. It was 27-24. Both team totals under, the game under, yada, yada, yada. But listen, because it's on TV, some people are going to run to the window and play it. So if you had the over, if you had both team totals over, if you had the Chiefs -3.5, wah, 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 wah. Anyways, we're here to talk Big Ten. The man that knows just this much about the Big Ten, he knows a lot about the Big Ten. Let me just tell you that. That's why he's here. The one and only Mr. Riley Magnuson. What's up, Riley?
My friend, happy Friday. Happy almost week 3 of college football. I am absolutely juiced. We won't go into it, but White Sox giving me some hope. Last night's game entertaining. New Amazon Prime broadcast. I know a lot of people maybe had some issues with their internet. I don't know. Mine looked and went pretty damn well on my side of things, so I was not really complaining about that. I personally had the under in last night's game, so I'm feeling good on this Friday morning. I've been a big believer in the Chiefs, but you don't win in the Chargers, but you don't win a lot of money betting against Mahomes and the Chiefs in September the last few years. So I stayed away from that one altogether. But nonetheless, it is a Big 10 Week 3 preview, so I am absolutely juiced to be here. There is a pretty damn good slate in college football, and particularly the Big 10 tomorrow. So I am ready to rock and roll. We've got games all day long tomorrow. Nothing tonight Big 10-wise. A couple of other conference games tonight, obviously. But nonetheless, I am juiced to be here, as always, my friend. Let's get rocking and rolling.
Shout out to my man Dave Sharapin from the BVB. I'm sporting his hat today. Maybe we'll get a little ECSI action on his side at some point here. Before we dive into the slate, obviously it's week 3. I mean, the talk very simply, and I hate to bring it up, is Scott Frost. He is out, as Nebraska has seen enough. You know what? I have mixed emotions because, if you let him coach this game and they lost 49-10, obviously that would have been his exit stage. If they upset Oklahoma, then, he says, I'm 2-2. Let me just finish out the year. They had seen enough. You only can put lipstick on a pig for so long. Thoughts on the move? Was it correct? And just not that Nebraska was going to make it to the Big 10 Conference Championship game at this point. I mean, this is the biggest game of the year for them in more than one reason. I mean, that was circled when the schedule came out. But what's your feel on the whole mess in Nebraska?
No, I mean, we've talked about it a little bit. I think it was the right point. The onside kick in week 0 against Northwestern almost kind of set him up, sealed his fate for a loss like this or an embarrassing loss, whether it's tomorrow or down the line for him to probably exit stage left. But yeah, I expect them to lose tomorrow, but they're only 0-1 in the Big Ten Conference. So if you feel like this team still has a lot of talent, the offense is obviously put up a lot of numbers. If somebody can, any of these remaining coaches can do something to improve this defense, then you can still salvage a nice Big Ten season here. Obviously, they've got, to my knowledge, I think they avoid Ohio State. They avoid Michigan State. So they've got one of the easier Big Ten schedules. So they can still be a 500, above 500 in-conference team here and maybe try and make a bowl game out of it. I don't know. But obviously, the defense needs some type of miracle to save what they've obviously put on tape the last 3 weeks. But, yeah, I think it was the right time losing to that Sun Belt team after a 1-2 start. And obviously, the week before against North Dakota, not really impressing anybody there. So I think it was the right time, and surprised it didn't happen on Saturday night. And I was surprised they waited until Sunday and not Saturday night before the night ended to give them the boot there.
It's early. You and I and the rest of the world have Ohio State just tiptoeing all the way through.
Yeah.
We always expect a hiccup from these teams, and especially this team. They'll be 13-point favorites somewhere and they'll get picked off. And for them, it's usually they'll stumble again. And then why can't we know we're the best team. Why aren't we in the Big Ten championship? I'm outside looking in. Penn State's got a tester this week on a non-conference game. The Iowa offense is like watching paint dry. It's a root canal with no Novocaine. Thanks, but no thanks. I would rather watch the Texas high school game of the week than watch them right now. Wisconsin stunned last week. Give us an overview. I mean, is this just shut it down and have Ohio State wait for anyone or what?
Yeah, I really don't think anyone's touching Ohio State. It would have to take I mean the what I would say on that is if a team is going to beat them, it's because there's a few teams in this conference. Wisconsin's defense, obviously, they lose 17-14. Their defense wasn't bad. It wasn't enough, obviously, but if you get Wisconsin's defense on their absolutely best day and their offense doing anything, Graham Mertz again, not really impressing anybody, obviously, and their running backs, obviously one of their calling cards throughout the last 20 years or their entire program history. Not really anybody dangerous that's knocking on any doors or really any buzz around their name. So their offense just isn't as dangerous. But there's a few teams that have some really 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 solid foundational pieces, or maybe they're really solid on defense, really solid on offense, but they're just not well rounded enough to beat Ohio State. So yeah, I'm putting Ohio State easy still at the end of the day, and as of right now, the wherever with the rest of the chips falling down is still pretty wide open. Some teams are impressing. Some teams are, obviously falling on their face like Wisconsin. We still have yet to see Michigan be tested by anybody. They've looked fantastic against their, lower level competition that they've faced. But, we'll see what happens once I think they get Maryland next week. So that'll be a nice test there. And there's going to be a lot. I think, honestly, I'm really excited for this week because there's 4 or 5 games with these Big Ten teams against solid non-conference opponents where whether it's, you're impressed by the Big Ten team or you're impressed by whoever it is that, they're playing. We're going to get a good sense, I think, of a few of these teams. Purdue with Syracuse this week, Michigan State with Washington this week, Maryland against SMU. There's a lot of good games where I think we're really going to get a nice feel for some of these teams, throwing Penn State against Auburn as well. We obviously saw them once against Purdue, but I'm really excited because I think we're going to get a better script on what some of these teams can be. And some of them are getting respect this week. Some of them aren't getting as much respect this week. So we'll see how that falls, and obviously, these teams could beat up on each other. So it's going to be a really interesting week. I think a couple of teams are going to be impressive, and we're going to be talking about them a little more, and then maybe a couple teams will maybe put on the back burner and say they might be closer to that second or third tier than they are up on that first tier in the Big Ten. So it should be a good one. I'm excited to roll here.
All right, the stage is yours. Take it away.
Let's get a little warm up in before we go into the bigger ones on these early slates here. Western Kentucky, Indiana. Indiana bottom tier team. This one should be pretty interesting. still kind of tough to gauge Western Kentucky at this point. Obviously, Bailey Zappi last year was, the big name for Western Kentucky. He's gone. Now you have Austin Reed playing fairly well, but they play Austin Peay FCS team. They beat them handily, and everyone knows what Hawaii's done so far this year. They beat them pretty handily. But their offenses look good in both. And, Indiana, you had the game against Illinois where Indiana was impressive in some facets, but Illinois absolutely should have won that game. Indiana should be 0-2 right now. Or excuse me, not 0-2. They got Idaho last week, but they should be, 1-2, I do believe is what their record should be. I'm drawing a blank here right now. But anyways, they're not a good team at finishing drives so far in this early point of the season. They've been really bad in the red zone, don't have any true red zone threats. And I think Western Kentucky's offense can exploit them. So Indiana -6.5 is where we're seeing it right now. I'm kind of interested in Western Kentucky maybe covering the spread or even upsetting Indiana. I like their offense. I don't really like Indiana's pass defense. I think Western Kentucky can really exploit it. And if Indiana's not on top of their game, which we saw some flashes against Illinois, but I think there might be some concern about Illinois' secondary if they're not getting pressure, which they really weren't in that game. So I think Indiana's secondary is beatable. And if they aren't finishing drives like they haven't been, then I think they get beat. But nonetheless, I'm interested in Western Kentucky plus the 6.5. The team totals for this one right now: Western Kentucky 27.5 at plus 100 for the over. Indiana over 34.5 at plus 100 as well. So I think it's going to be a high flying game, but I'm leaning towards Western Kentucky in the points in this one. What are your thoughts for this one so far in the early slate here?
Well, it's kind of funny because those numbers remind me of the Thursday night game, 28.5 and 24.5, and they land 27-24.
Yeah.
Both numbers, when I first saw this, my eyes flocked to Western Kentucky. I'm not in on the Hoosiers this year. Now I have to try to take a step back and say, are they baiting us to take Western Kentucky this week or not? I too think it'll be a high scoring game. But when you talk about these two teams, I mean, we're not talking Ohio State offense and Alabama offense as well. So it's a big number. It's a big nut to crack. I do see you. I like where you're going. For me, if I was to dive into this game, I'd buy the hook. I'd take Western Kentucky plus the 7, and I'd pray.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that one. I'm not a big believer in Bazelak, Indiana's quarterback. I think he could be looking for some regression, but like I said, we haven't gotten a good gauge on Western Kentucky's defense. It could be looking really rough tomorrow. So I'm not in love with this one by any means, but I think Western Kentucky's got a chance to pull off an upset here. So next one up, now we'll go into, we'll ease ourselves back into the Nebraska hosting the old Oklahoma Sooners. This one, I believe, is the big noon kickoff on Fox, one of the bigger televised games of the day for sure here. Oklahoma -11, total 66. Let's double check. I think down to 65.5, or excuse me, 65. I think this one has moved down over the last couple of hours, actually, if I'm not mistaken here. When you and I were talking this time last week, we looked ahead. I believe it was 8.5, right? Oklahoma by 8.5 was the spread on that one. Nebraska's offense, we were saying our offense hasn't been terrible. They've been able to move the ball. It's actually been pretty damn good. Some play calling, questionable play calling in that week 0 game for sure. Their team total 26.5 over -130. Oklahoma's team total 39.5 over -105. Last year, obviously, much closer game, better defensive performance from Nebraska, 23-16. Oklahoma, 22.5-point favorites. But another team, Oklahoma, we think they're very, very good. We haven't seen much out of them so far. Only, UTEP and Kent State were their 2 wins so far, handled them pretty well. So I guess I'll ask you, is this team for Nebraska going to look any different? Is this going to be a spirited performance from whether it's the entire team, the defense, or just the offense, or is this going to be the exact same situation where their offense will move the ball, but this defense is going to look like Swiss cheese against Oklahoma tomorrow afternoon?
Riley, I 100% open book here. I don't know what to tell you. The offense hasn't been the problem.
Right.
In my eyes, they brought Whipple over from UMass. It's been the defense. So Scott Frost, shame on you, whoever you hired or who you have in place for the defense. You look at the way Northwestern put up 500 plus yards. Yeah. You look at what these 2 small schools have done on your defense. I look at these numbers here, And the first thought process, and of course here, Murphy's Law, by the way, is the landscapers are, 4 hours early. So I'm not too happy right now. With that said, you would think Oklahoma would put up almost 40 by halftime. Uh, uh, are they baiting us to take that team total over? And Nebraska should be able to move the ball. Oklahoma doesn't care if they get into a shootout because they'll probably put up 60 here.
Right.
I don't know what the firing of Frost. It usually lights the fire under the bellies of the team.
Right.
I'm torn here.
I know. I guess if you were to make the argument that they would light a fire, if they put on a nice performance, this could put them, get a lot of respect on certain guys individually. With this game being maybe the last chance. No Ohio State on the schedule, so probably the last time all of the eyes in the college football, maybe not all of the eyes, but the most eyes that they're going to get the rest of the way in the season, maybe. But it's a firm stay away from me for the most part. I'll have my popcorn out, and if they get smoked, it wouldn't shock me at all. If they put up a scrappy performance and it's a 35-31 finish, that wouldn't shock me either in this one.
The funny is they're over under on wins for the season is 7.5. Now they expected to come into this game 3-0,
right,
and then put the L next to it, a hard fought game 3-1. But you said something kind of spot on here. Even with a loss, they're 1-3, but they're only 0-1 in Big 10 football.
Right.
So no Ohio State now. Now don't forget, they have some other big games that they're going to be
they got Michigan
dogs on. Yeah. So it's kind of a, no pun intended here, no win situation. You just fired your coach. Even if you win, you're 2-2. So what? You should be 4-0 now.
Right. And I mean, the next month after that, October, could be a 3-1 month out of the Big Ten. They get Indiana, Rutgers, Purdue, and Illinois. I'll give Purdue a big old offensive performance against them in that one. But I mean, Nebraska should beat the other three teams there, regardless of what happens tomorrow. So, the end of November should be interesting. I guess October, if they lose any of those games, could be even more embarrassing. So, I'll be staying away from this one pretty hard. But I'll have my popcorn out, and honestly, there's two other Big Ten games that I'm just as interested, if not more interested. So maybe I don't have this one completely on my TV until it gets good. This might be I'm not watching it until someone tells me I need to watch it. But we'll see.
I saw on, I think it was Odd Sharks, that Urban Meyer was like plus 1,100. There were 4 or 5 names in front of him.
Yeah.
So our talk earlier in the week on the closing bell, it's not like he's one of the front runners. Again, I think this would be something right away. You would go kick the tires. Are you interested? And just, you got to do your due diligence. And then if not, we just move on. That's all.
Yeah. Right. Next one of the games I'm more excited about, just from a Big Ten standpoint, kind of how I was, alluding to hyping this one up as far as a team that will probably get a better sense of probably both these teams, Big Ten ACC, Purdue and Syracuse. I think a lot of people that maybe around my age over the last 15, 20 years who haven't really ever seen Syracuse have a successful program more than 1 year at a time, we're probably pretty surprised to see Syracuse favored in this spot here against Purdue with what we know Purdue's offense can be. Total up at 60 right now, 58, 8.5 earlier in the week. Syracuse was -1 up to -1.5. Syracuse has looked good. They dominated Louisville in, I don't know if it was week 1 or week 0, whatever it was. 2 interceptions off Malik Cunningham. Rushing offense has looked pretty damn good. Steady quarterback play. And then Purdue, on the other hand, obviously the loss to Penn State. They bounced back last week at 56-0 or something in that ballpark, I think, to Indiana State. Again, though, Aiden O'Connell and Charlie Jones, the connection that was really, really impressive in week 1 against Penn State. Another really nice week 2 against Indiana State. So I think it's a connection that you can expect to be really formidable for the entire season. That Aiden O'Connell to Charlie Jones, well over 100 yards receiving in just about every single game, it seems like, is what we're going to see here. So the one concerning thing, I mean, it just seems it's a tough number. It's a tough spot. It seems like a Syracuse number all the way here. I saw a DraftKings tracker had 60% plus bets and money on Purdue in this one. So I believe in Purdue here, but the number and the money moving in is kind of keeping me away from it, Jeff. Syracuse team total 30.5, Purdue 29.5. What do you make out of this one? Do you believe in Syracuse in this one, or is this not enough respect for the old Boilermakers here?
Well, I'm looking at Wager Talk, and again, these sites I got Don Best to the left, Wager Talk to the right here. Wager Talk has the exact opposite: 65% of the bets, 56% of
Okay.
the money rolling in on Syracuse. Again, I trust the opening numbers. The actual opening number was Purdue -1 or 1.5.
Yeah.
It has now turned all to Syracuse. Our buddy TJ. Good morning, TJ. Shouts out. They haven't had a good team since Dunham and McNabb,
Yeah.
and he's pretty spot on. And I said also their claim to fame was 24-point underdogs a handful of years ago at home against Clemson, and they beat
Yeah.
them.
Right.
You know what? As much as a great story as it is, and I also think this is Purdue's first game on the road. Is that correct?
Yeah, they had Penn State at home that first game. Yep.
I'm gonna trust the opening number. I think it'll be a great first half. I think Syracuse comes ablazing. I think they flip flop back and forth. I could see this a 31-27, 31-28 Purdue here.
Okay, I think I'm with you. I think it's one of these things. On the Action Network, they I respect a lot of people that use this. A lot of people that are with them. Sometimes though, there's certain lines like this where it seems like a Syracuse number, and then you look and it's the kind of the same situation where it's maybe on NFL games or the entire panel is on one team and not a single person is on the other side. I'm seeing 6 people to 0 on Syracuse in some fashion here. So I was with you. The some of the stuff I've been seeing is kind of made me pump the brakes, but I think it's a little too much respect towards Syracuse, honestly. And that Purdue pass offense, I believe in it quite a bit. And I like I said, I think this is going to be a good gauge of where both of these teams are. But I'm not all in on it. But I'm glad you are helping my Big Ten homerism here, because I was leaning towards Purdue when I first saw this one here. So we'll see if you're still leaning the same way, Big Ten or not, in this next one here, Mr. Dawson. UConn heading into Michigan, the big house. 47.5-point favorites for Michigan. 60.5 is the total. Michigan 2-0 with 250 spots. Colorado State and Hawaii have come in, and it's been a beatdown so far. Michigan hosts Maryland next week. Should be a high-flying offensive game there. That's going to be a big test for both those teams. Maryland also a big test tomorrow night as well. Any thoughts that maybe Michigan is looking ahead and maybe could coast in that second half, not trying to save their guys for that Maryland game? They've already put a lot of offensive momentum together. I'm not saying UConn wins this game, but any thoughts that maybe UConn's got more of a chance to cover the spread and keep it closer to a 30-point game than this 40, 50-point game that the lines are alluding to here?
Well, let's just do basic math. They're 47-point favorites and under/over a 59-60. They're basically telling you 53-7. So if you like UConn here, what is their team total? Is it 6.5 juiced under, or is it?
You know what? I think I was having trouble. I'll double check again here. I think I was having some trouble finding them. Some of these big games. Yeah, DraftKings doesn't have it, and I want to say FanDuel didn't have it either. Some of the other books didn't have it. So I was honestly just having trouble putting or finding the team totals. So really, I was kind of doing the same as you. 53-7 or 54-6 is what the numbers are really telling you there.
Take a look at the team totals, people that are listening here. If you get a 6.5 juiced over, do you get a 7.5 juiced under? I think it would be a moral victory if the UConn got to 10. Michigan, again, just sees these guys on the schedule. Hats off to Jim Mara and company to take this game. I assume they're getting a decent check. Just remember this, guys. You put an ass whooping on you, we'll put you on the basketball schedule. We ain't afraid of you. There's no Fab Five there anymore.
There you go.
So bring it on to scores. We'll play you back.
I like that. We'll see if we can get some fire down the road between these two in basketball there. I think one more for the early slate. Probably the least impressive game on the entire Big Ten slate. Southern Illinois, Northwestern. I personally, in the state of Illinois, always love these interstate matchups. But Southern Illinois already 0-2 in FCS play. I don't know that this is going to be the same script as what I kind of talked about with the last couple of weeks and Big Ten teams against FCS teams, whatnot, where it's I don't expect the FCS team to put up any points. I could see this one. From what I understand, I've always told you it's sometimes tough to find these numbers, and especially for me living in the state of Illinois legally, I am not able to bet on this game. So I saw a 20.5 spread for Northwestern and a total of 55. Won't waste too much breath on this one. I'll just go ahead and say I'm going to predict a 35-17 win for Northwestern. I think Northwestern's offense does fine. I think SIU can put up some points here, but really isn't going to have much of a chance. Maybe I'm giving them too much credit. I don't know. But anything to say here, or should we move on from this one?
I think you're spot on. Spot on.
Alrighty. Next one up, there's a little bit of an in-betweener here in the early slate. 1 o'clock my time, 2 o'clock your time, 2 o'clock local time. This will be in Philly. Rutgers and Temple. Rutgers minus 17.5, 44. Looks like potentially down to 43.5 in some spots on the game total. Temple so far, 30-0 loss to Duke in week 1. Very unimpressive there. Duke obviously gets the win over Northwestern last week, but not a very good FBS team, not a very good Power 5 team. Rutgers 61-14 win last year in this matchup. They put the beat down on them. I don't have too much strong thoughts on this one. Rutgers team total 30.5, Temple 13.5. Leaning towards kind of a similar performance. I put Rutgers in a similar category as Duke. Not the most comparable teams by any measure, but similar skill level and physicality level, I would say. So I kind of lean towards Rutgers laying the points in this one, but I'm probably not going to be taking it. The total at 45 honestly concerns me with that one a little bit. That kind of makes it seem like it could be a little closer, but maybe a 35-7 win for Rutgers. Am I giving them too much credit, or you got any faith in Temple to put up any points in this one here?
I go back to the road opening week at BC, 7.5-point underdogs, a great fourth quarter rally, and then they take care of business, obviously, last week. The 43.5 is concerning. Now, with that said, my eyes automatically flock to Rutgers team total at 30 and a hook. It's almost like they're baiting you to say, come on, 31, 33, 34, you're a winner. I would think Rutgers gets over that number now with the 43.5. So Temple's is at 13.5, as you said. So something smells here.
Yeah.
And the whole world's on Rutgers. So
right.
As much as I like the team total of Rutgers over, and I'll probably be cursing by the third quarter, I'm going to stay away. Yeah,
no, I'm 100% with you. These lines kind of scare me away a little bit. I think Rutgers wins pretty handily here, but maybe it's maybe their offense doesn't shine as much. They huge performance last week against a punching bag in Wagner, so maybe they're some steep progression off of that. I don't know. We'll see. But getting into the meat of the slate here, 2:30 my time, 3:30 your time. Penn State and Auburn, one of the bigger matchups on the day. Penn State -3 in this one at Auburn. 47.5 is the total. Penn State won this matchup last year in Penn State, 28-20. It was a pretty close game there. Penn State had a nice tune-up last week against Ohio. They handled them really, really well, looked really, really solid against them. And Auburn flirted a little bit with San Jose State, if I do believe. 24-16 win there as 24-point favorites. Auburn's rushing offense has looked really good so far. Penn State hasn't really been tested, at least in this rushing department there. Rushing offense there haven't been tested. TJ Finley again here, starting quarterback for Auburn. For the rushing offense, he's been, obviously a solid option quarterback and solid, dual threat quarterback. But from a passing perspective, still pretty damn pedestrian here. So, really the thing that would keep me away from it is really the Sean Clifford experience. Do you believe in him? Do you not believe in him? Are you expecting a full roller coaster experience like we saw a couple weeks ago? I kind of lean towards that. So it's going to keep me away. You heard me. I trust Penn State in a lot of facets of this, but they could be driven by Sean Clifford, and I don't know if I trust him enough in this one. What was interesting to me on DraftKings, though, so the spread's still -3.5, but the team totals I was looking at 23.5 for Auburn, -105 the over, and Penn State 24.5. So despite the 3-point spread, only a 1-point difference on the team totals. What do you make of that type of difference there? on DraftKings.
Well, here's what I would say as you were breaking this game down. Okay, everyone knows the SEC bias. It's not just SEC here, it's home SEC. This isn't at Penn State, yet
No.
Auburn is 3-point underdogs.
Right.
47 and a hook. They're baiting you 2 times. One of these teams makes it, one of these teams don't. If I was going to do the basic math here, your initial thought would be somewhere in that. Is it going to be 27-20? Is it going to be DraftKings trying to make it sound like it's going to be 24-23? Well, if that was the case, why'd the line open at 3? It didn't open at 1.5. Let me look over here for 1 second. Computer model 349.5. Yeah, it opened at 3. Someone's playing hanky panky here. I think you're going to get a public swaying of SEC Auburn at home. Take the points. This will be one of the public trendy dogs. I like Penn State here.
I'm with you. It's another one where I'm torn. There's just things about these Big Ten teams that ultimately keep you away a little bit and maybe don't have your full confidence, and that's kind of where I'm at with a lot of these teams, like I was saying. But if you get a good Sean Clifford performance, then I absolutely expect Penn State to have a nice day. And defensively, like I was saying with TJ Finley, when you take a dimension out of an offense for Penn State's defense, they've looked really, really good. It's those really high-powered offense mixed with an accurate quarterback passing, but Finley hasn't really showed that from a passing perspective here. So if you're Penn State and need to have a better rushing defense than they did last year by every measure for sure, but when you take away some of that passing threat and they can focus a little more on that rushing offense, I think you could see some success from Penn State there. So again, I was leaning towards Penn State, but in some of these games, I just can't tell if I'm being a Big Ten homer or not. So I'm glad you're leaning me towards Penn State again here.
What was Penn State opening day at Purdue? Was it around -4, 3?
They were I think closed at -3.5 at least. Yeah.
So you're trying to tell me Purdue and Auburn are even teams? That's what Vegas is telling us.
They're very different for sure.
And I like a Penn State team as they start to progress. Auburn's not winning any SEC title. We know that.
No.
Cam is not quarterbacking. Bo Jackson isn't in the backfield.
No.
So I like a Penn State team as they slowly start to gain momentum. I'll figure out. They want you to take the team total under 24.5. If I had to put a staple on this right now, I would go 27-20 Penn State.
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty similar to last year. I could see it. I mean, the teams aren't too far from last year, and kind of how I started it with Penn State's tune-up last week against Ohio. I think that's a really nice spot for them to be in there after getting a nice confidence booster. Nice, really, I guess tune-up is the best word to put it. So I'm glad we're on the same page there. I'm glad I'm not being too much of a Big Ten homer out here. So we'll have a couple more, and I guess we'll test that a little bit further. But next one up, one of the bigger disappointments. I know a lot of people projected them to be this bad, but Colorado, one of the worst Power 5 teams that we've seen so far this year, heading into Minnesota. Minnesota, who we haven't seen too much on a national stage by any means, and probably won't again here tonight, has looked really good. I expect them to be really good. They could be a true dark horse to be the second team. Maybe not even a dark horse. They might put a case to be the second best team in the Big Ten here this year. But they are 27.5 point favorites against Colorado. 46.5, I believe, is still the looks like it could be up to 47 in some spots on the game total. TCU, and I know you had some insights on Air Force taking down Colorado last week. Beat downs is basically the best way to put it. Am I right? In both of those cases for Colorado losing to those teams. Minnesota team total 37.5. I believe Colorado 9.5 here. 37.5, 9.5 for the team totals there. 30-0 last year, I believe, was the win for Minnesota. I kind of see it going the same way. I think Minnesota's defense isn't getting enough credit here. Colorado, I think, is going to stay in the single digits here. So I'm going to stay away from it for the most part, but I guess I lean towards Minnesota laying the points here. But, I don't love sweating out these huge spreads by any means. So I guess I'll give a similar 31-3 prediction, and they barely cover that spread. But I'm not trying to play with it too much. What about you?
We've been spot on about Colorado. The TCU game. It was eye opening in the second half. Just the speed difference, and then what really grabbed me. I was talking to Dave Sharapin while I was out in Vegas. The books gave all the shops a gift. They opened it at 13 and they couldn't hit it enough. I mean, that closed at 17 and a half. We cashed a ticket on them. I think now the books are getting a little sharper here. I don't think Minnesota is an 11-point difference to Air Force here, but they're not allowing you to crush it. I'm interested to see, maybe you could pull this number up. My guess would be 16 and a half for 17. What is Minnesota in the first half?
On the spread, the first half is going to be, 17.
I was wondering if they'd give you that 16 and a half there. Look for 20, 21, 23, maybe 24 in the first half from a Minnesota team. And then does Colorado get 3? Do they get 7? If you wanted to play this game, I would take a look at Minnesota first half, shop around, see if you can get 16 in a hook. I'm actually okay with 17 as well.
Okay. No, I think they could, and especially, I mean, the second half they get, I don't know if it's next week or the following week. It's next week. Minnesota starts their Big 10 play at Michigan State. So obviously trying to build up for that. So I could see a really nice first half, and then maybe they coast in that second half. So I'm with you there. I think they beat them down, and I'm really excited for that Minnesota-Michigan State game. That's going to be a heck of a game. Next one up, New Mexico State and Wisconsin. New Mexico State, obviously not a Power 5 team, but they are another contender for worst team in the FBS so far. And they were very bad last year, obviously. Wisconsin off of a loss, especially against this team, I expect their defense to be terrifying for New Mexico State here. Another one where I was struggling to find some team totals anywhere. But I would be surprised if New Mexico State found the end zone. Maybe they get 2 field goals. Maybe they get 1. I really don't think they get past 3 in this one. Game unders for Wisconsin following a loss. Last 7 is 6-1. It's just, I really don't know what to expect or the point total to expect. Finishing point total for Wisconsin here. They're kind of telling you 42 to, what is it? 42 to, or 41 to 6 or something along those lines. So 42 to 6, something like that. So I think Wisconsin could get in that range, but obviously they're another Big Ten team that their offense, hasn't been impressive by any means. So I expect the rushing offense to pick up here a little bit. They're trying to prepare for Ohio State coming up here. So, basically expecting a dominant Wisconsin defensive performance, but I can't tell you much after that. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, when you're favored by 37 and a half and the under over is 46, so basically, 40 to 6, that's 40. So I mean, again, I assume your Wisconsin team total is right around 37, 38. I don't expect them to give up more than 3. I would expect a bounce back. Just a shocking loss last week. And again, it doesn't mean anything in the Big Ten scenario, but it's eye-opening where, we talk about this in college basketball where there's the power teams, the power conferences, but go way back 20 years ago when the Gonzagas of the world started making their move, the Wichita States of the world. There's, in the March Madness, one beat in the 16, it does happen. But in football, this really doesn't happen very often. Right. So everyone crying about the Final Four. Well, now in a couple of years, you're going to get a 12 team, and then you're going to get teams number 13, 14, 15, and 16 crying because they're not in the dance. It doesn't matter.
Right.
In football, it doesn't matter. Okay, guys? So look for an inspired Wisconsin team. Look for them to give up 3 or less. I would expect their offense to score on almost every possession. If not, I think some people are going to go to the woodshed.
Oh, 100%. I mean, this is, Graham Mertz, every single year we've obviously had some huge anticipation of what he could become. And it's like you said, it's eye-opening for their offense and kind of almost a true sense of what their offense is and what it's going to be this year. At times it'll probably look all right, but there's times where it's going to look pretty rough, and there's going to be some defenses in the Big Ten that'll probably feast on this offense. It doesn't matter how good Wisconsin's defense will be. If their offense isn't good in some of these matchups in the Big Ten, they'll lose like they did last week, 17-14 or something like that. Washington State's offense wasn't that good. It isn't going to be that good. So, it's tough to see, or their defense either. So it's tough to see for Wisconsin. But, with you, I think they bounce back, at least defensively, very hard in this one here. So next one up, another big spread. Ohio State hosting Toledo, another in-state matchup here. We mentioned Ohio State gets Wisconsin next week. I saw early look ahead when minus 16.5. Ohio State is favored over the Badgers there. So we'll see if that one changes after this week or not here. Could we be seeing? I don't have too many strong thoughts on this one. I see on DraftKings, I didn't see any team totals on FanDuel. 47.5 for Ohio State, minus 115. 14.5 for Toledo. Over is minus 104. Can we be seeing the Buckeyes coast a little bit here in the second half? They've obviously put put a hurt down on Arkansas State last week. I could see a big offensive performance here in the first half, but maybe they coast in the second half offensively and defensively, and Toledo can get over that 14.5, or am I giving Toledo's offense a little too much credit there?
Preseason, myself, Julie, and a lot of other people in our lanes were looking to just pound the OSU team total over, and they're really not allowing us to do this right now. No. With Wisconsin peeking ahead, you look for an OSU. I think you look for them to put on one of those first half performances. They should be able to score almost every possession against Toledo. And the funny thing on this number here is Toledo 14.5. Now, if it was 13.5, they're baiting you to take the over. When it's 14.5, they're baiting you to take the under. So I'll tell you this on record right now that Toledo will get to 15, 17, somewhere like that. And then OSU, again, they'll probably end up right around 47. Am I telling you to go to the window and take the 32? No, I'm not. Am I telling you to go to the window and take OSU's team total over 47.5? As much as I want to, no, I'm not. What I am telling you is Vegas is baiting you to take that Toledo under. So I'll go on record and say Toledo team total over 14.5.
You and I are on the same page, my friend. I have a 48-20 prediction. Toledo's team total over there was going to be one of my selections out of this slate. So you and I are exactly on the same page there. It's the look-ahead spot, and it's second half. I could see them sitting a lot of these guys ahead of that Wisconsin game because they should obviously handle Wisconsin easily, but Wisconsin's defense can throw some danger at them. So obviously they're going to be wanting to be very healthy for that game to make sure they handle them pretty easily because that's going to be one of the tougher games with their defense on their schedule. So I'm glad we're on the same page again here on this one. So 2 or 3, I think we got 3 more left. 3 more that are definitely worth talking about. We'll start with, let's see, what time are these games at? These are, actually, that last one was moving into the late slate. Now 6:30 my time, 7:30 your time for these last 3 all at the same time here. Michigan State and Washington Washington minus 3.5. This one touched 3 a few times this week. 56.5, 57 is the total that I'm seeing here. And what are the money splits you're seeing on your sites? I'm seeing about 60-70% of the majority on Michigan State for the most part here. Are you seeing the same thing?
58% of the bets, 67% of the money, all on Michigan State. A line that opened at 1, now 3.5. It touched 4 with our friends at South Point. Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Jimmy Vaccaro. Good morning, Beeson. And now, again, I have to go with what my eyes are telling me on Wager Talk. 58% of the bets, 67% of the money on Michigan State. Yet, the line's going the other way. This is a classic reverse line movement here. Now, as I talked about Penn State and Auburn, SEC, home team, yet they're underdogs. The exact flip here. Pac-12, which is not as well respected, a Michigan State team, a good team. I mean, had a great year last year. Opened up 1-point dogs. Now they're 3.5-point dogs. Could Michigan State win? Of course they could.
Yeah.
But this line's moving. They're begging for Michigan State money.
Yeah, this was another one where I was, my heart was, my Big Ten homer was saying BS. I think Michigan State's better than that. They're not getting enough credit, but this is the stinkiest one that is keeping me away from it for sure. I mean, Washington, Michael Penix Jr. Came over from Indiana. He's their starting quarterback. He's looked really good so far. The concern, I guess, if you're concerned about him in Washington, he's looked good against bad teams and has looked a little. And I'm going back to Indiana, not so much here. Has looked a little more pedestrian against some of these higher rated teams or higher athleticism, physicality teams. So that would be where I would go if I'm liking Michigan State. But yeah, this one stinks to high heaven for sure here. So go ahead.
You know what's a shocker to me? Under over 56.5. You think of these two teams, you think of defense. I don't think of offense, yet they're telling you 30-27 right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. How much of this line, I guess the spread, going back to that, how much of it do you think is going to be, or how much of that line being set there is giving respect to Washington's home field advantage, which a lot of people are aware is pretty good, but this one, I mean, they didn't have the best year last year, and so now when you have some expectation, that place can be rocky. Do you think any part of this line being at that is anything to do with their home field advantage here?
A little,
Yeah.
but you know,
Maybe.
I'm trying to really wrap my head around this. The line opened at 1, okay, and now it's 3.5 being pushed to 4. Something smells here. Something's going wrong here, and I don't want to push all my eggs in the basket. And you don't want to follow these numbers,
Right.
okay? You didn't. I'm not saying you don't go in and bet bad numbers because everyone does it, okay? But you missed the train. We never saw a 1. Obviously, I think I saw a 3 all week. Now 3.5. Now 4 at South Point. Something's going on here. But the real eye opener to me, and as you say, and I say, I'm not a totals guy. I could have Biff's almanac right now, okay, guys. I could have Sunday's results in front of me, and I still couldn't pick a total. I have the worst luck with totals. But if anyone's listening right now, I would run to the window and I would take over 56.5. That number to me looks so out of whack, like something's wrong there.
Yeah. No, I think I'm with you. I mean, both quarterbacks could be slinging it around here. Yeah, I'm with you. My Big Ten homerism had me leaning towards Michigan State if we're talking the spread, but it's too fishy for me to jump in there. I'm with you. If we're going anywhere, I think it's the over. Both these teams, Michigan start the conference play next week, or at least their next game. Maybe they have a bye. I'm not totally positive. Michigan State gets Minnesota. They're going to be looking to run up the score, or get their offense tuned up a little bit for that one, because that one could be high scoring as well. So, yeah, I'm with you. If anything, I'm going over, and I'm excited for this one. This is another one you're going to get a better gauge on both these teams and where they're at. Maybe we'll see Michigan State's pass defense kind of regress back to what they were at times last year. Maybe that's why we're seeing a total up at this number right here. So I'm with you. I think we could be seeing some points. Now going to the next one, Nevada and Iowa, or as many of our people are calling them, Iowa, IWA, because there is no offense to be found. So no O to be found there. Iowa Hawkeyes. We're seeing a -23, I believe, up to -24 now. Spread on this one, my friend. As you talked about, it has been probably the most disappointing offense, I guess, given the expectations of the team in totality. One of the more disappointing offenses that we have seen. I know people weren't expecting them to be, 20, 30 points a game or anything like that, but at least good enough to support how good this defense can be at times. But we're seeing team total 30.5 for this Iowa team, my friend, to 8.5. The under 30.5 is -105. They're really wanting you to come in and take Nevada and Iowa's under here. Nevada, though, part of the reason we're seeing this, Nevada lost 55-41 to Incarnate Word last year. I'll give you $5 if you can point that one out on a map to me, anyone out there. I believe that's an FCS team, and Nevada was embarrassed by them. Iowa's defense, I just mentioned it. Iowa's defense is still very, very good. They can absolutely hold Nevada under. I should hold them under 14, and obviously the team total 8.5. You could see them holding them to 0, 3, 7 points, anything like that. Similar how their defense is shown out. But Are you respecting the number, or you just don't want anything to do with this Iowa offense already in 3 games in, or you got any interest here at all?
Well, I don't know how many people will run to the window and play Iowa team total over 30 in a hook, first of all.
Yeah.
Second of all, that 8.5, they're baiting you, obviously, to take the under. So I'll just go on record and I'll give you 31-10. How's that?
Okay. Okay. No, I mean their rushing offense should be enough to get them that many points. So I know a lot of people are shocked that Iowa's laying this many points, but Nevada is a bad team. Hopefully Iowa's offense can at least put up a couple touchdowns, if not 3-4, like we're talking about here. So. Yeah, I know it stinks, but yeah, Iowa should look a lot better today or tomorrow, excuse me. But yeah, I know it's a tough pill to swallow, but I'm with you. I think Iowa looks a lot better. I was on them last week, and it failed for me, obviously. If they put up less than 20 points, then I think you can be right to close the book on betting Iowa for the rest of the year here. How about you?
Even a 34-10 lands on 24. Both team totals go over. Everyone's happy.
Yep. Last one of the night, two teams that have been putting up points, and the game total up all the way at 73 for this last one. SMU versus Maryland in this one. Both teams 2-0. This one should have some fireworks. Team totals 37.5 for Maryland, 35.5 for SMU. What I'll say about this one, I like Maryland's offense. I really do. I'm conditioned though as a Big 10 homer and someone who follows this conference very heavily. At this point in Maryland, we talked about these teams that have come into the Big 10 over the last 10 years and trying to still make that statement and put the statement and establish themselves as a true Big 10 team. Every time over the last handful of years that Maryland has been in that type of spot, and Big 10 people are hoping and expecting them to make that statement and establish themselves as a firm Big 10 team, they've fallen on their face. So I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm saying that's what I've been conditioned to believe, and that just when we're expecting Maryland to win 40-30 and have a popcorn type game and everyone's loving them, they put up a stinker. So I'm not necessarily saying that's happening tomorrow night, but it wouldn't shock me. I am interested in Maryland to some degree here, but I haven't seen too much of SMU so far this year. Where are you at with this one? Are we seeing are these lines fair, or are you leaning one way or the other on this one here?
We were all over Maryland team total last week, and then of course we get the weather report: stay away, and the rest is history there. But it is what it is. They want you to go run to the window, bet both team totals over. They expect this game to get into the 80s. I've seen this a million times. As much as I agree with it, I would stay away from it. I have when I look at this game outside looking in and I try to decipher this, again, what's the alarming part to me is that Maryland wasn't a 3.5 point underdog, but a 2.5, and the public trying to push it to 3. I do have it. Just give me 1 sec. I do have it a flat 3 now at William Hill, which is the square book. It's an SMU number. It's an SMU. Take the points. Take the money line with a little plus 115, 120 there. I expect it to be a fun game. I think it will come down to who wins the turnover battle. Both teams are going to be able to score at will. Just the fact, though, that they weren't 3.5, 4-point favorites. Vegas making a stance saying, we'll lean SMU. We'll take the Terps money.
I can understand that for sure. I mean, Maryland has the public perception to his little brother. I mean, a lot of people are just going to be flocking to them on a given basis, just in general. So I'm curious. I didn't look this up by any means. Maryland, took care of Charlotte last week, 56-21, like we were talking. Very, very bad football program, Charlotte. Very bad defense. I'm curious what the turnaround when teams beat down Charlotte like that, do they follow that up against when it's a stiffer competition? I'll have to look that up a little bit further here. Or is it a nice tune-up? You know what I'm trying to say here? Like, are they going to be greased up a little too much and a little overconfident because of what they were able to do at will last week? Like you said, these offenses should score at will, but maybe there's a little bit of regression off of last week and how easy it was last week, even with the weather that we saw. So, interested to see. Maybe I'll dig something up there and see what I can find. But I'm excited for this one. Another one that fits into I think at the very least we will know a little bit more about both of these teams going forward for the rest of the season from a betting perspective, in my opinion here.
Yeah, I mean, moving forward all season, I mean, offense will not be the problem for Maryland. And as you're going to see as they get into Big Ten play and they start to play some of the iron, the numbers you're going to look at and you're going to be like, holy shit, this Maryland team can score 30 or 40 at will. Well, they can't do that against a Penn State defense, an Iowa defense, a Michigan State defense. As fun as it is, that's why these teams set up their early season schedule to get the motor running. Maryland is got the offensive running. What is their defense is going to look? This is a good test for both teams.
Yeah.
I think we're going to find a lot out. Now, listen, we talk here next Friday, and Maryland wins, 45-25. Hats off to their defense. Vegas is giving you a 35 and a hook. So you got to get to that 37-38 number. Do I think SMU could? Absolutely. Do I think Maryland can get to 37? Absolutely. I mean, Vegas is telling you right now, 37-35 Maryland. That's what they're telling you on one side with the team total. So it's going to be a great game. It is.
Yeah. And honestly, they go to Michigan next week. That'll be an interesting one. It's kind of how you're saying, would it shock me if Maryland won easy? And now we're talking about, like I was saying, I'm conditioned to believe Maryland's going to fall on their face whenever there's a big moment. Maybe they steamroll SMU, and then we get into Big Ten play, and everyone's has a higher expectations for Maryland going into it, and then they fall on their face. I don't know, but go ahead.
All right. Perfect example here. I don't have the lines. I don't have the look-ahead lines. It's in the big house, correct?
Correct.
All right, I'll just go off the top of my head and say Michigan minus 23 and a hook.
That's the prediction for next week?
Do you have any look-ahead lines?
I don't see it here. I'll double check on this one over here to see if they got a look-ahead line. Let's see on this app here. I would guess no, but maybe we do have one somewhere. Let's see. Michigan. No, I don't think we got anything yet. But you're going 23.5. All right, we'll write that one down. I'll say 17.5. That's where I'll go, 17.5.
And the UConn game has no bearing on this. So I think 23.5, and then you get that under-over probably around 51, somewhere around there. We'll see how good I am.
I could see it. I think it should be a 51.5, but if Maryland puts up a 40 spot tomorrow night and Michigan does another 40-50 spot, I could see it should be 51.5, but maybe it'll be up a little bit higher because everyone's going to be, the public's going to be in love with that type of over for what those teams have been. So it should be 51.5, but I'll say maybe it gets posted a little bit higher than that, 54.5 or something like that. Well,
I was going to go, my second number would go to 57. How's that?
Okay. All right. Well, I'm excited. Next week should be interesting. I know some teams got to buy, but yeah, next week we get some good Big Ten matchups. Indiana gets Cincinnati, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, Michigan State, Iowa, Rutgers, and then Wisconsin, Ohio State to close it out. So we should have some good ones next week as well as we get into the real conference play next week in the Big Ten, my friend.
Well, as always, it's been great. I enjoy our Big Ten talk, and we are going to do this. You got your work cut out for you because we're going right from football to basketball. So
nice overlap.
There you go. I can't wait. So everyone watching and listening, we thank you. Without you guys, there's no ECSI. If you're not already following us on YouTube or Twitch, please just jump over there to East Coast Sports Investor. Subscribe. It's free. Any of our work can be found at EC Sports Investor on Twitter and Riley_Magnuson, the one on Twitter as well. You can reach out to us. We'll follow you back. We'll answer any questions that you do have. We're here to provide information, leans, suggestions, with a little entertainment. We save the real entertainment for ESPN, Fox, and all those other clowns. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from the one and only Riley Magnuson at Riley_Magnuson, the one, we wish everyone a blessed weekend. Have some fun, cash some tickets. We'll see you next week.